Hello, hope you're well. It's Steve from Diffuse here. I'm about to give you a tutorial in Serum, and we're going to create this absolutely huge house bass synth from scratch, and by the end of it your mind is going to be blown by all the detail and modulation matrix stuff and frequency modulation, and the amount of times I get confused while I'm doing it, but you'll be absolutely fine. You'll have the patch at the end of it and you'll have learned how to really push Serum, and to do it we're going to utilize a little vocal sample, this one, from a track I've just made recently called Dirty Town. Very simple. Do it. And what that's going to be doing is modulating the oscillators, and then we're going to resample them, and then we're going to resample that, and eventually, hopefully by the end of it, get back to having a huge bass sound like that. I have to say, every time I do this tutorial, every time I've done it in practice, every time Cubase has crashed, this, that and the other, it comes out differently, the patch. It always sounds huge, it always sounds immense, so every time it's different. Yours will be different to mine, but what I'm going to do is show you how it's done. So first thing I'm going to do is open brand new instance of Serum, remove the keypad at the bottom, you don't need to see that, and we are going to make this sample on my track the noise source, because thanks to Steve Duda, recent patch update, I don't know if it's recent, I think it's 2018 or something, all you have to do now to create a brand new of your own noise source is get the file like I'm doing now, make sure the noise oscillator is turned on, and drag it over the file space. If I turn the level up now, turn oscillator array off, there you go, you can hear that sample being played. Turn it up a little bit there. What I will say is if I hold my finger down on it, it will repeat ad nauseum, which is great if you're inputting like a white noise source or something, some hum or spraying an air can, you want to just continually loop. But I don't want that in this synth. I want that stab, that do it, just to be a one shot. So turn on one shot, and as you can see, every time I press the key, it just plays it once. Keep pressing it like that. It's like a kid in a synthesizer shop, isn't it? Well irritating. I'll stop, don't worry. So now what I need to do is use this to frequency modulate a sine wave, analog bass drum sine wave. This is basically a sound source that's an oscillator that's already in Serum itself, and what I found is when I'm modulating sound sources, a really simple sine creates the best sounds. Okay, so nice round. This is, if I just turn the oscillator down by 2 because we're going to be making a sub bass sound. It's got great, nice, deep. If you turn the wavetable all the way over, it's got a really nice sort of raspy sound to it, but I want the wavetable position just to be right at the start. I'm going to turn the level of the noise oscillator down. I'm going to set the warp so that frequency is modulated. Frequency is modulated by the noise source. And now if you hear, if I slowly increase, there we go. And now it's getting a bit unusable. So turn it back down a little bit. I think right about there is good. Yeah, sounds pretty good to me. I can increase the tail a little bit, so when I take my finger off, because I'm about to resample this now. So what we've done there is we've frequency modulated oscillator A, which is a simple sine wave, using that sample I had there. Do it. Sounds very good. Now in Serum, it's got a real round opening detail. There'll be a good amount of detail. It was a sine wave, but you can see all this here now. If I just turn that, look at how, I mean that. So that's just a basic sine wave now, sub bass, but turning up all that extra detail added in there. So I'm going to set this to 75. Sounds pretty good. 75% is the level of warp on the frequency modulator. Now I'm going to resample this. In Cubase, you just render it down. I'm going to do it on the note of G, and I've got that nice little bit of tail, so that when I semi-churn, yeah. So when I resample this now, and I'll just do it for 3 bars because there's nothing happening at the end there. Let me just turn that release down a tiny bit. Yeah, that's fine. So I'm going to resample this. Whatever way you do it on your audio workstation is unique to you. In Cubase, we can just render it down. So if I go to render settings, and just let you know, if you're rendering to put back into a wavetable in Serum, I've found that 16-bit seems to be the best way to do it. When I try the higher, 24, 32, 64, it starts freaking out. There are glitches. It sounds mental, not in a good way, in a very digital and absolutely normalized to hell sort of level. It blows your ears off. So set it to 16-bit, render it down. So now I've got this nice, it's a nice warm, I mean, that's a good enough sound. If you was to put that into a sampler and play it up and down, womp, 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 it would sound pretty good, I think. But I want to push this that a little bit more now. So we've got that nice warm resample of what we've just made. I'm going to turn off oscillator A, turn on oscillator B, and I'm going to drag this sample into oscillator B for it now to become my new wavetable. You'll have a load of options pop up there in the box. Pick the third one down, import constant frame size, pitch average, and in it goes. Let me just, and obviously that sounds absolutely nothing like what we've just made. Firstly, because it's 2 octaves higher than it was. Now we're back down there. They can sit here now as I go through the wavetable. So what I want this to do now is play through that whole section of wavetable. What I will do before I even do this is, I've just noticed, let me drag that over to the middle. I've just noticed as I move through the wavetable, it's actually moving from left to right. Do you see? Let me just open this up. As I move through the wavetable of what I've just inputted, it moves from left to right, which means the wavetable isn't quite in the right position. So I need to change the amount of samples that it's split at as I pull it in. It says here split at 898 samples. So I need to, this is a matter of trial and error now, change it to 905. So now it's split at 9. Drag the sample back in and see how that is. And now that's going backwards, so that's not good. So 900. Let's try that. Drag the sample back in. Oh, we've nailed it. It's not moving anywhere, look. That's fantastic. And that just tails off to the end of the sample there, which is just slightly signing if you look down, up and down. If we go back to the start, go back to the first sample of the instance, there's a big biting sawtooth glitch thing there. So what I'm going to do is, so that it keeps with the rest, I'm going to just delete that slice of the wavetable. So that first sample, click on it, down here in the bottom, it'll say number 1 there, and press minus. Now, we've got a nice wavetable, not moving anywhere. As it goes through the whole thing. Now, what I want to do is, I want for this to play through the whole wavetable. So, if I assign LFO1 to the wavetable, set on a simple down to up half saw, whatever it is, half triangle, change the trigger to envelope mode, and that means it will just play it once. It won't just keep looping and looping and looping as you play it. Then it plays through. You'll notice it's a bit fast. Reduce the rate to half, and we are where we should be. That is effectively a resample of that, but now it's a wavetable. Now what we can do is, I could actually resample that if I like, and do exactly the same thing. And that's what I did with the original, this one. So I'll do that. Oscillator B is, so we need to resample to oscillator B. Now that's too fast, going through the wavetable position. Change it again. There we go. A lot of digital clip in there. Change the morph to spectral. I just don't like that. I do not like that at all. So what I'm going to do is I'll drag this whole thing back in and start that wavetable again. What did I say? 900? Sample it back in. Change that back up to half. And I want to, there's a real crick to it, isn't there? The sort of digital clip. Go through the morphing. That's done something. Spectral 0 phases. Oh, I quite like that. It's like a sort of digital saw. It's got a real sort of prop to it. I think I'll use that. Go back to oscillator A. Turn it on. And now I want oscillator B to frequency modulate oscillator A. Ooh. There's some great sounds there, isn't there? You could go through that and pick which one you want. What I want is, I want to take it from nothing up to the byte, in keeping with how it's sort of running through the wavetable, and I'll do that by assigning envelope 3 to modulate. Sorry about that. To modulate the FM. Now if I, there we go. to get a real synthy. There we go, something like that, I think. 42% that's at, frequency modulating from envelope 3. You can change the attack a little bit. That's a cool sound. I like that actually, just slightly sort of delaying the attack creates a real flip, like a sound. And turn off the noise, we don't need that now. Yeah, like I say, every time I make this it comes out different. That sounds very cool, very unique to me. It's a sort of almost warm saw sound. I mean, yeah. What we need to do now is, if you're happy with that sound, I'm okay about it. I might just, I want it more to tear, so I'm gonna have that attack there, I think. Yeah. Right. I'm more happy with that because it's tearing through. It starts at nothing and then bam, sort of hits you a bit. Because what we're going to do now is add some real detail and rasp and aggression, using the effects, using the distortion. And what we'll be doing is, so that everything all ties together and triggers and sounds in unison as one, we are going to use envelope 3 as our modulation source in the matrix for the distortion, wetness level, the drive level, the reverb, stuff like that. And then we're going to keep tweaking until we're quite happy with it. So the first thing to do then, envelope 3 is causing that frequency modulation to bite, to rip. Whoop. That's what that's doing, pal. So go to envelope 3. This is now a source of modulation, and we're going to assign that to distortion wetness. Go back now, open the distortion, and look for, oof, that's got a real, oh no, hang on. So with nothing on, diode 2 distortion, that sounds like that. With the mix completely open, it's like that. If I had more drive, it's sounding a bit too digital, I would say. I wouldn't like to hear that. That's just at the cusp, and that's as high as I want that to go in terms of distortion. So go back to the matrix, envelope 3, wetness distortion, pull it right up. What did we say that was? Yeah, well we'll have it go to all the way to 100. Go back, pull that down. Now you can see that, there we go, a real tearing sound. We can also do the same thing with the amount of drive. So again, add envelope 3, go to the effects, go to distortion drive, and add as much as you want, but go back. Well, it was originally 25, wasn't it? So there we go. Bit of distortion for you. Now, there's too much detail because now we've added distortion. There's too much detail from in the low area. It affects the amount of punch and oomph it has in sub bass. So we can add a sub bass oscillator in Serum, drop it down by 2 octaves, so it's the same. Put that as direct out, so that it's not affected by the effects process. That's going straight out as an oscillator. Because what I want to do now is, if we add the EQ, we can cut off all the conflicting sub bass and we can also add that to envelope 2, effects, EQ frequency low, and have that, there you go, warping using the same envelope, tearing again. If I turn off sub oscillator now, you can hear that's just really dry. If I swap these round now and have EQ first in the chain, there we go, it's more like it. Now I'm going to add some reverb to add a bit of stereo space. We can do this because there is no bass going through the reverb. It's all dried out with that opening high pass there, then through the distortion. And obviously I'm not going to have it a huge tail like that. That sounds quite good. Change the low cut. Have that high cut, just so there's some little bit of the high area sound coming through. And now, as before, I'm going to use envelope 3 to affect the amount of reverb wetness. So if I go back, pull that right down. In fact, I can even change that so that the distortion distorts the reverb and the EQ. Put the sub bass back on. Turn it up. That's the sub there. Change the attack amount. Put the oscillators back on. Oh, it's good sound. A real tearing, warm sound. And then we can detune. Oh, that's sounding good. Detune the oscillator. Let me just backtrack. Oscillator A at the moment is a single oscillator running straight through the middle. Both speakers, it's basically a mono sound. If you add on extra voices, obviously it adds extra width. You can detune these. This sound good. At the moment this is randomizing every time I press my finger, so that when it could play from that point in the wavetable, that point. So let's remove that randomization. Let's find the point that we're most excited about, which is, I say, about there. Do the same with this oscillator. I don't like it there. It loses a bit of colour. There we go. That point. That, through my ears, has great detail. A real lot of tearing, flapping, broken amp sound to it. There's a great amount of sub bass coming through, which you can control uniquely, like there. Width wise, we can reduce this. See, it's all well and good having a sound as wide and as impressive as possible, but when you come to mastering a track or mixing a track, you want it to be sounding as good as possible and as uniform on every single speaker. Even the most annoying iPhone speaker, when someone plays it on a bus or a train, it drives you mad. You can still hear the amount of detail in the bass, and this is helped by lessening the stereo spectrum of certain elements that are key to the tune. For example, we are making possibly if you was to make a dance track out of this, it would be the biggest, the highest impact sound, the house bass lead, the boom boom boom. That sound, you want that to sound as great as possible on every speaker, every club, even a horrible iPhone speaker. And if you lessen the amount of stereo width, you're more likely for that to translate across more speakers. Yeah, so in Serum, on the global page, there's a width option, and this is for, obviously it says there, stereo width, left and right. If you drag down in the middle, you can reduce the stereo width of the oscillators all the way down to 0. So the width you're hearing there is just coming from that reverb. That's a little bit too much reduction, so I'm going to pop it back up to about 40, and I reckon that's about enough. And also, I would say that's probably about enough for this tutorial. I hope you've understood what's happening. Serum is a fantastic synth. If you push it, we've just made a brand new sound. The original was like this. This one's like this. I've made others, they come out different every single time. You can keep resampling these wavetables and make even madder sounds, and this has all stemmed from that one silly little vocal sample. Do it, and I hope that's helped you. Please like and subscribe to my videos. I'll make some more. If you can't be bothered making this batch, be quite happy to send it. Yeah, I'll be quite happy to send you this original one that I made. Follow me on Twitter and DM me, and I'll send it to you. If you have any questions, please add them to the comments below the video. Happy tune making. I'm gonna go and have a big brew and something to eat now. I could hear my stomach rumbling halfway through that tutorial. I hope this has helped. Happy tune making. Au revoir.